Happy Friday, everyone. Welcome to the IT Hour. Here we are. Yay. All right. It is Friday, September 22nd, 2023. I never do say the date, so I thought, why not? Let's tell everybody what the date is today to remind them where we are, who we are. I'm Becky Scott. We've got Urvashi with us, and Scott Reed is back. Woohoo! Welcome back, Scott. We have so much to talk about today. The chat is already going on, and we're talking about caffeine and salsa. And let's see, we've got ghost peppers and hot salsa and jalapeno jelly and peach salsa, sweet and hot. And I was just telling the gang in the green room that I like cranberry salsa at Thanksgiving. Talking about sweet and hot because it's pretty darn good with turkey, I'm telling you. So you should try it. Actually, I guess now I'll have to post a recipe somewhere. It's from a San Diego cookbook that I got, oh goodness, 15, 20 years ago now. Tasty stuff. What's your favorite? Sweet, hot, spicy? What do you like?
I was just posting saying that y'all haven't tried spicy until you've had like South Asian green chilies suddenly appear in like a mouthful of whatever else you're eating, and then it will just melt your whole face. You'll be weeping for a few minutes.
I went to a Jamaican jerk place one time and they mixed up our dishes, and I had gotten the medium and someone else had gotten like the super duper hot, and they switched accidentally and I got the super duper hot. And I even my cold drink felt hot after taking a few bites of that because it was just everything
Yeah.
was burning. It was so, but for a while I could tolerate everything hot, like nothing fazed me for a while. But
The one thing I
now
cannot do is wasabi. I can't. It
I
just
love
I'm
wasabi
still
wasabi.
is
partial. I think Thai food is the hottest food that's out there. I think that spicy Thai food is like, of all the cuisines, hot Thai food will ruin your day like nothing else.
I love it, but it doesn't love me. So I can't tolerate it as well as I used to be able to. So sigh. Jonathan says, love it when you can see the line of red flush move from your neck up to the top of your head. Yeah, when you
not
just
when you're
start,
brown.
yeah, so when you start crying a little bit and, get sweating and everything. Oh, it's the best. Except my stomach does not agree with me. So sadly, no more. Oh, John, this says, especially if you're brown. All right. So today we've got several things going on. We got some announcements, and we're going to talk about I Make Work Happen, community, a little bit of product, and then Scott going to talk about JumpCloud Go, and then our usual. Got a lot of news today. There's lots of stuff going on. So we're going to jump right in. IT Pro Day was this week. It was also Talk Like a Pirate Day, and I had to strongly resist not thanking IT pros and talking like a pirate at the same time. So you're welcome that I didn't do that. But thank you all for everything you do. That is part of why we are doing I Make Work Happen, talking about everything y'all do to make things better for your companies and your workers, even when they don't quite appreciate what you do. We know what you do, and thank you. And speaking of that, we have our first winner for the I Make Work Happen drawing. We drew one last week. And congratulations, Debbie Anchor, for winning a $100 gift card. Woohoo! And we've got another winner coming up soon. We're in the process of making sure, drawing and notifying them before we announce it. So that's ongoing right now. Oh, Urvashi, can you grab that bit.ly link and drop it in the chat? So if people want to go take a look at the site, and remember, you can make your really cool cards that you can share, and you can share on various social sites, and that enters you for the drawing. You can enter up to 8 times total each week. So go do that because you can win $100 and be entered to win the grand prize, which is $1,000 and a big swag package. So better get on that. And sorry, Charles, but sadly, no, JumpCloud Go and Pokemon Go are not the same thing. You don't have to catch them all. You just have to catch one.
Authenticate them all.
Ha! Maybe that should be our tagline. Authenticate them all. All right. Next month is Cybersecurity Awareness Month, October. So get ready for some related topics there as we go through the month of October on the IT Hour. By the way, the first week of October, we are going to start having some guests on the IT Hour related to iMake Work Happen. And I'm really excited that we're going to have one of our very well-respected customers on as a guest on October 6th. He's been on here once before, I think, but it's been quite a while. He's a lot of fun, and it's going to be great to have him on here. And end of October, Halloween, spooky, scary IT stories. So be thinking of your IT horror stories and what you want to share. We always have fun sharing what you have been seeing and doing this past year. We've shared a lot of great ones, in the last couple of years. So maybe you have some new ones within this past year that you want to share. Well, I mean, we kind of hope that you don't have any horror stories, but we all know that they happen anyway. So be thinking of those because we will be doing some prizes and fun stuff when it gets to be close to Halloween, and we may or may not dress up. I don't know. We sometimes do, but you can see I'm already in the spirit. I've got my Sally behind me. Not my cat Sally, but my Nightmare Before Christmas Sally. And you can't see Jack. He's over on the other side out of camera range, but they're hanging out together because I'm already getting ready for spooky season. And Rob, of course we respect you. Yes. Rob says, well-respected customers. Oh, you ain't got to flatter me, Becky. Of course not, Rob. You don't need any flattery. All right. Let's see. What else have we got? Oh, yes. Urvashi, do you want to do the intro to the social hour since I've been talking? You're on mute.
I'm on mute. I knew it. Okay. Yeah, sure. So, as you all know, when we launched the Meetups program a year and a half ago, before my time, we had groups in a handful of US cities with just over 50 members, and it's been super incredible to watch the network grow to 20 groups internationally and almost 850 members. And as we've grown, we have looked at how to evolve this program to best serve all the IT pros around the world. But don't worry, meetups are not going away, and we have some exciting news. Drum roll, please. Introducing IT Social Hour. Every Friday, we're honestly so blown away by this community, the dialogue, the energy, the connections, advice, the laughs, the recipes for cranberry sauce also, all of which we set out to do with meetups. So that's why we're officially rolling meetups under the IT Hour umbrella, and we'll follow a similar model to set up peer-to-peer discussions focused on connection, family topics, and having fun. So we won't have somebody like Scott interrupting the banter with their product updates. It'll just be a good time. So beginning in October, we'll be sunsetting the Meetups platform in order to streamline communications, and stay tuned for more info.
In fact, you should have, if you're on the Meetups platform, I think you should have seen an email. Maybe it was yesterday or the day before, from Alexa starting to talk about this, and we'll send some more as well, giving you more updates. But we wanted to make sure that you were aware that we're going to kind of make some changes and do some things more virtually so that more people can attend. It's a little bit harder to get together in person right now. So we're going to make some changes and try to make it fun and interesting. So stay tuned. All right. Community update. A few things going on. Full Gubby, I hope I'm saying that right, but haven't seen you in a little bit, so glad to see a new script from you. Install Install-O-Mator app if user in department on a Mac. So thank you for that. And Sean is back on scripts as well. Get Edge extension and Firefox add-on info on Windows. Urvashi has pulled a couple of scripts from Slack. Joe Rogers and Luke McFadden, removing monkey from Mac devices and inactive user report on all systems. So thank you, Joe and Luke, for those.
Luke's is a whole YouTube tutorial. It's like a 5-minute long step-by-step YouTube tutorial, so it's pretty great.
Yeah, Luke's been around for a while and he's quite active. So thank you for that. And in the product news section, we've talked a lot about dynamic groups recently, and Derek posted a quick update last Friday about automation using the API. So you can use our API to configure and update both static user and device groups to dynamic groups. And instead of the admin portal, you can use the article to build automated workflows in the API around user and device group membership. So all implied entitlements will automatically take effect with or without review, and you can update group memberships without having to manually change group memberships. So he's got a whole post on that on the community that gives you some instructions and everything. So if you are interested, please go check that out. And I'm seeing both Luke and Joe posting in the chat. So yay, I'm glad you guys are both here. And yeah, let's go to the main attraction. Scott, what have you got for us? So excited.
Oh man, super
go.
excited to be back. And yeah, let's talk about JumpCloud Go.
What?
So what is JumpCloud Go, right?
Hmm.
To me, it's kind of the realization of the platform, the fact that device management, a managed user on a managed device, using JumpCloud as your chosen SSO vendor, what can you get from a platform? And we took a ton of inspiration at what's out there. And really, there's only one true form of like managed user on managed device and an all-in-one platform, and it's Azure's primary refresh token, where you do an Azure AD join, you sign into a Microsoft account, and you can fire up Edge, and you're just automatically available to access your Entra resources, your 365 resources. Like, I don't really know what to call them anymore. But that is really kind of the seamless user experience when you're living in that consolidated Microsoft stack. So we now have a analog for this that's not gated to Azure Premium licensing. It's not gated and really only available on Windows. It's available for Windows and Mac. And I look forward to bringing it to Linux this year too, because I truly believe that we need to celebrate Linux in the workplace. And our peers that use Linux, they should have the ability to have passwordless login too. So I'm going to share my screen and kind of just walk through what we built and start with just talking about, let's see, share. Talk about, some visuals about why this matters. Everyone can see my screen? So truthfully, this is all about security. It provides an incredible user experience, but the security things are what matters. So this is something I come back to and that actually I found on a LinkedIn post. And it's the consumer authentication strength maturity model, right? Where we start to think about working our way up. How do we get more secure to protect our users and protect our organizations? And I'm really proud to say that JumpCloud truthfully supports only 6, 7, and 8 on this list. So TOTP, right? An app-based two-factor code, an app-based codeless two-factor, that's JumpCloud Protect. And then on top of the chasm, jumping over the chasm, now we have a passwordless option. That's really, really exciting. So when we think about what's here, the words are small, but it's about what we're vulnerable to, right? What risks are we exposing our organizations to and our users to? And anytime you're typing in a username and a password in a web browser, you're putting a risk out there. That's a risk to a phishing attack. There are really, really, really compelling phishing attacks that we've seen in our consumer lives. And we also see them in our lives as employees using our work accounts. So let me throw this in here. I'm going to send it to Becky so that she can do the needful and post it the right way. So here is the chasm. And let's talk a little bit about what my experience is like as a JumpCloud employee using JumpCloud Go. Company XYZ employee using JumpCloud Go. There's nothing special about how JumpCloud uses it. we're using it to secure ourselves. So I'm going to go to the next tab. Perfect. And here's my experience. I love the community. I post in the community, and let's pretend I'm starting my day, and this is my first request to a resource that I'm using to get work done. Boom. I'm going to click this button, and you're not seeing it because I'm only sharing my screen, but I just put my finger on my authenticator, and now I'm there. My only authentication challenge for today. That's it. I was never at risk of putting in credentials. I was never at risk of having to approve a push that may or may not have come from me. So that's when we think about like why we're at the top of the mountain now. I have affinity. I have a proven trust anchor as a managed user on my managed device. And that gives my organization the security, and it gives me the ability to just prove I'm here and get to my resource. So that's the passwordless flow. So let me prove it, right? Let's keep proving it, right? So how am I going to prove it? I'm going to, let's see if I can share my full screen so you guys can really see the magic happening here. I'm going to share my screen, and let's go entire screen, and let's share it so that you can see all the stuff that's happening.
Ooh, risky. All right.
Risky. All right. Let's hope I don't get any notifications, but I don't think I will. Let's do the whole flow from the beginning again so you can see where it started. So how am I going to do that, right? Well, first of all, cookies, right? This is what's getting me access to this thing. So I'm going to delete these cookies. And then on another screen right here, I'm going to run a special command I have that you can actually find in a community post that I'll show you that just restarted this experience. So now we're back to step one where I am not authenticated. You can see that here. And I am going to do the flow again. All right. I've got some VMs running, so bear with me. And we're screen sharing. So here we go. You're going to see it. There it happened. And now I'm into my resource. So that's the full flow. You saw the full thing. That is, again, the start of the day. So let's pretend, right, that my session expired or I'm accessing another app. I got to be careful. I don't want to be showing the world all the apps I have access to, so I'm going to keep it to the community. So I'm going to delete these cookies, right? So these cookies are now gone. I'm going to reload the page. And I am going to now access it again. Didn't put my hand on my keyboard. I'm there. So that's passwordless login. That is the experience of JumpCloud Go after I've done what's called that daily user verification step, getting me to resources. And the way that we work online, right, is we have sessions to all of the services that we use. And the power of JumpCloud Go is it's generating these sessions without me having to interact, without me having to authenticate. And we can tune our session durations all the way down to their lowest settings supported by our service providers. And what that gives us, right? That gives us the ability to truly reduce our potential impact of compromise, where a session that is a minute long versus a session that's an hour long or 8 hours long, if that session gets stolen, if it's a minute long, they've got, less than 60 seconds to try to do something before what they've taken, a bad actor, becomes useless. So this is the security. So the experience again, right? The experience as a user is I start my day with a touch, and anytime I access a resource that requires authentication that's coming through SSO, if it's generating a new session, I'm going to see secure, passwordless. That loader, that loading experience gives me that trust to know that that session's being generated without a password. Is there a way to force the fingerprint, right? So yeah, let's go back to this. So passwordless, right? What is it vulnerable to? It's literally vulnerable to hardware theft. Someone stealing my device right now with it unlocked, someone could absolutely walk up, come into my basement in Denver, take my device. If it's unlocked, that's the vulnerability that we have. Like real theft, like someone stealing your phone out of your hand when it's unlocked on a subway. That's what I'm vulnerable to. We are absolutely right now working on that feature right now, James, which is allowing you to, we call it step up MFA, being able to protect your application with step up MFA. You can do that today with a conditional access policy. Go right now, that user verification step is not a supported MFA there, but we hope to have that out very, very soon. Active rubber on the road there. So inside the admin portal, it's another one, Mark. I can't wait to protect the admin portal with this. And absolutely, that's something that we're digging deep into right now. So let me show you where we have this set up in the admin portal. So JumpCloud Go, you toggle it on in features. And the way that it all works is it all works via the Chrome extension. So as a platform, we have multiple ways to help you get this Chrome extension on your devices. And yes, if you look at what this UI looks like, there's additional tabs that will be supported here. Soon you'll see Edge, Firefox. We already have people using us in Brave. So Brave is works, but it's not officially supported. We got to get some tests there, but it works in terms of if you tried it, it's there. But Chrome, Brave, Edge, all of the Chromium ones are coming incredibly soon, with Firefox and Safari coming next. And what I want to highlight is that all web browsers are different. Chromium is very similar, right? It's all built off a pretty consistent framework. And you actually, when you authenticate, like the user agent's the same. So it looks very, very, very similar in reporting. But Firefox, Safari, these are different browsers that have different management capabilities. Chrome has incredible management capabilities. It is an enterprise browser, and Chrome Browser Cloud Management is really powerful in what you can do. So JumpCloud, one of the things that we have, right, is we have Chrome Patch Management, and one of the capabilities within Chrome Patch Management is the ability to force enroll devices into Chrome Browser Cloud Management. So that's incredible in terms of what you can do as an organization. Here at JumpCloud, we mandate it is our browser. We're a Google shop. My only option is to work out of Chrome as mandated by our IT policy, and that is how I get work done. And the browser extensions that we have here are actually enforced and pinned by my administrator. So you'll see I have Password Manager as well as JumpCloud Go up here. Clicking this brings you right to the user portal via passwordless auth, which is great. And I want to highlight that Chrome Browser Cloud Management is a service that Google offers without needing to have a Google Workspaces subscription or domain. And this is where you have the ability, see if it's going to force me to reauth. It probably will. This is where you have the ability to, for your organizations, force install browsers, and you can do all of the things for the browser inside of Chrome Browser Cloud Management, where again, the better together story with JumpCloud is that you can force enroll devices into Managed Browser. You're not requiring users to have to take an action to sign into their browser. Some pretty cool things that this policy can do. You can enforce browser sign-in and restrict that pattern to a regex with JumpCloud. So if you think of an out-of-box experience for a user coming in through, let's say, Apple Zero Touch, device enrolls, Chrome is installed, perhaps through a scheduled command after agent install, that user fires up Chrome. This policy is automatically associated with that Mac device. Regex makes sure they sign in with their work account, and out the gate, their first login to their browser has them signing in with their work account, and the JumpCloud Go extension can be deployed there, serving them at their first login. So these are the things, again, that our platform supports. And for those of us that aren't using Chrome Browser Cloud Management, we also have standalone policies for this. So the payload that this works with in Chrome is going to be the force extensionless policy, which you see we have for Mac and Windows. And here you can have easy plug and play to do this with JumpCloud. You select these and our policies automatically install them. And you can add in all the extension IDs to your heart content. And I always love to flash, right? I talked about how Chrome is different. This is an enterprise browser. Chrome has some amazing visibility into their policies. So if you do Chrome /whack policy, you can see the extension force install this policy that we're setting and get all the information that you need on this served to you through these routes. So this is JumpCloud Go, right? We turn it on, we enable it. And to make it super clear, the user experience only changes once the browser extension is delivered to a device. And not just any device, but delivered to a device where a user is a managed user on their managed device. So the trust anchor that we're forming to provide this password experience is that affinity of I'm on my work computer working from my work account. So that's JumpCloud Go. It's amazing. It is, what about device login? Well, if you think about that trust anchor, device login is included in this, right? You have to be logged into your account on your managed device. While the experience happens in the browser, it happens after logging in to your managed account. So there is a tie-in intuitively to device login based on those trust anchors. But these experiences, right, we're accessing resources in the browser. So the actual tangible result of when you use this happens when you're navigating right now, correct, in the Chrome browser on your managed account on your work device.
I think, though, in context of when Jonathan asked that, I think he might have been asking, can it manage the device login as well? But Jonathan, you can um, give more context in the chat to make sure. So I think, though, you have to log into the device before it'll.
So kind of like laws of physics, right? I'll tease you guys. We have a new Mac login window coming. I've talked about it before. We were showing it off on the stage, Tom Bridge and I, at Mac Admins Penn State this summer. Reality is device login, there's laws of physics we have to respect. And specifically on Mac OS, like those laws of physics are pretty savage, where you restart a device and you actually don't see the device login on an encrypted device. All of our devices should be encrypted, just like we should wear seatbelts in cars, like facts. That first window that we see, we don't have any control over. That's an Apple screen. And when you decrypt the device with a password, has to be a password, you can decrypt it with a password, or if you don't have your password and you enter it wrong too many times, you get the option to use a file vault recovery key, right, to decrypt the drive. After that, you actually get to the device login screen. And at that device login screen, that's where this new login window that I'll tease, and I'll be back to talk about very soon, is introduced. And that again requires a password. Microsoft's is different. You can absolutely, as a primary authentication method, set up Windows Hello. And Microsoft allows your login options to truly have a completely passwordless flow blended with JumpCloud Go. So in the Microsoft ecosystem, the laws of physics are different. You can restart a device and your primary authentication method can be your finger or it can be your face. Now, if you pair JumpCloud MFA into that mix, you cannot do that. JumpCloud MFA requires a password and one of our awesome MFA options, which are TOTP and now push is TOTP or push. I much prefer push. And that same reality on Mac OS, right? On Mac OS, let's say that you enforce MFA. You decrypt the device with your password, you get to the login window. Now to actually log in, you're going to use a password and your MFA method. If I want to zoom even farther back, these new Apple devices, and I'll give Microsoft some props too, the new Windows devices, I'm not logging in that often. I'm waking my device from sleep. I'm waking it from sleep when I start my day. And oftentimes, like maybe if I work late, I'm not required to put in a password. I can start with a touch, and then my next experience getting to a resource is a touch. So I would say that if we think about the design of everyday things and how our operating systems work and how our users work on them, I mean, I'd be fun to see what we could do for a competition for what is your user with the highest uptime in your org, where uptime represents that they have not restarted their device. Now, if you're using patch management, I don't think that uptime can get much higher than 30 to 40 days. We just had a minor release come out yesterday for Mac OS. My device restarted. And truthfully, that's probably the only restart that's going to happen until the next minor update comes out. So 30 to 40 days is what I think uptime is. And uptime, in my mind, aligns with actual times you're seeing and touching a device login to start a new session. How long is the last Windows update is the same. So needless to say, right, we're not touching our login window as much. We're unlocking our device from sleep, and we're deferring really to the rules on the operating systems to do that. So for me, right, I enter my password to start my session, just a password to wake my device from sleep. There's no MFA enforced there. I used MFA to log into my device when I created that session. And now I'm using my finger to start my day. So I have like a one-touch authentication challenge. Authentication fatigue is super low for me and my coworkers, which I love. And I can't wait to bring it to Linux, because once we bring it to Linux, the reality is then we can shorten our session durations and really take that next step in improving our security posture, where shorter session durations, when all users in an organization have the capability to log in with Go on their devices, creates the security to reduce that potential impact of compromise if a session is stolen without impacting the user experience at all. Users will simply see a passwordless login screen, which to me makes me feel safe and secure when I see it, when they get a new session. I think that takes 2.1 seconds. I'm curious, give me some estimates on how long you think it takes a user to log in with a username and password. I'm curious just what you think, as I have my own estimates there, and I'm looking to find ways that we can start to really get some facts on it. But I'm curious to think like what you guys think, like what takes a user to log in, and how much time could we save if users are automatically logged in? I think some of them are in the minutes realm. I mean, I can think for myself when like I'm using push before we had the Apple Watch support, which is awesome now. But to me, it all comes down to the opportunity. But the average, right? I think that we're there, right? 15 to 35. That's exactly where my head's at, Jonathan. I think 20 is what my estimate is. 20 seconds would be the average. And if you
Actual
throw,
versus perception is
yeah,
another thing, right?
yeah, and then if you type it in, right, the longer the password, the bigger chance of a risk mistyped. So
Mhm.
totally
It's
agree
like
with that.
it's like sitting at a stoplight, right? How long it feels is different than how long it actually is.
hmm So let me hit roadmap questions, right? So my vision, every way a user can authenticate on their work device, they should have the security, given laws of physics would Go. So we're bringing Go to all of the browsers. We're bringing it to Linux. And we talk about bringing it to Linux. We're bringing it to Linux desktop. So tactically, right, there's Linux in the workplace where it's users' primary workstations. That's the Linux that we're attacking. Clearly, we're not attacking headless Linux, right? That's kind of crazy. That's not what we're after. It's about treating everyone as a first-class citizen on their JumpCloud managed workstation and giving them the security to get there in the browser that they want to be. So that's what we really have planned for the back half of this year. Um, in addition to that, the step up piece that I talked about is coming, and then just getting more feedback. I want to hear what you guys are looking forward to, what your challenges are from a security lens. So my job is to kind of help build out these features to help improve the security organization without negatively impacting the employee experience of your end users, your customers. And that's really what we're looking to do. I'm interested to understand, and open the floor up to see what your ideas are, what you see, what your vision is for authentication, and be able to blend that into how we're building this.
So Luke wanted to know about whether or not he saw a screenshot for Windows that listed a JumpCloud Go account.
So what you did see is that new macOS login screen is actually going to denote which local accounts on the device are JumpCloud managed and which ones aren't. And it does that with a pretty cool icon that shows you, you got 4 accounts on the login screen, 2 of them are JumpCloud managed, 2 of them aren't. There's a JumpCloud icon on those. On Windows, we have a new credential provider coming. So there's going to be a JumpCloud icon on the login screen. The laws of physics for what we are different for what we can deliver on Windows when it comes to the device login screen. So you might have seen a screenshot that had the JumpCloud icon there, but JumpCloud Go is 1,000% supported on Windows, right? It's supported on Windows and Mac right now. And the real requirements there that this is a hardware-backed token. So you need to have all the Mac devices have the secure enclaves, but you need to have a TPM. So any devices without a TPM, no ability. What do we lose by pushing out via policy versus Chrome management? Optionality. Optionality is the name of the game. For organizations that use Chrome management, the way that these things work is that there's hierarchies and priority in terms of which policies win. So if you were to push it out via JumpCloud policy, and we're also using Chrome browser cloud management, there's only a single Highlander who can control that payload, and you can define in Chrome browser cloud management who wins there. So it's really just building a bridge to Chrome. If you're not using Chrome browser cloud management, absolutely use the policy in JumpCloud. Point and click, use dynamic groups, get it out there. 1000% recommend that. But I always want to build bridges and give people the optionality to use the tools. And Chrome Browser Cloud Management is an incredible suite of administration for the Chrome browser. We have a better together story there. So it's just a bridge for organizations that use it and maybe may want some more additional controls over the browser that we don't have standalone policies for.
Okay, Microsoft Edge support.
Yeah, absolutely. Chromium based. So these are the browsers that are coming. So the browsers you're going to see with Pace are going to be Chromium because it's essentially the same thing as Chrome. And then after that, Safari is actually the most interesting one. Safari extensions, there's really fun stuff that I get to be clued into from our R&D team. Joel Rennick, the wizard, is working on Safari. And it's just different. There are different technologies. There's different options. And I'm excited to say that we have some amazing things coming there. So Edge is absolutely, Chromium is going to be the stuff that comes out with Pace, and then followed by Firefox and Safari. Firefox, absolutely. I mean, it's an open directory, right? Like the vision here is protect all of your users in their preferred browsers of choice from their JumpCloud workstation. That is the vision that we have. Yeah, and Brave is supported. It's not supported right now, but Brave works right now. I hope to get it officially supported in the product very soon. Netscape, oof. I'm not doing old school IE. I don't talk about Netscape. But yeah, I mean, certainly you understand what the vision is here, right? Celebrate how people work. That's the power of our open directory platform, and protect them. This is about security.
Yeah, I was going to say Netscape still exists.
How has nobody asked me for mobile yet? Like, nobody's asked about mobile. Come on, guys. Like, challenge me. Mobile. Let's talk about mobile. So how this is going to work on mobile, because it is going to work on mobile, is you might have seen something in that loading screen, which you saw the JumpCloud Protect icon. The JumpCloud Protect icon. Protect is not just our app on mobile. It is our security story. And this is a security story. So when we go to mobile, we're going to need to have an anchor. And that anchor is going to be the Protect app. I know you needed mobile yesterday. And believe me, we know that, we hear that, and we are working so hard on it. So you're going to see the JumpCloud Go family expand. I'm super excited to bring in some of my peers as this becomes a kind of almost a keystone to our platform, right? This is the security, authentication, all coming together. There's going to be more people coming in and talking to you guys about how this is coming to mobile, and I'll be one of them. When we come to mobile, we have to think about the realities of mobile, right? You own and are responsible for the hardware that is someone's primary workstation, or I hope so, at least. If people are working from their personal devices, that might be a choice that you guys make. But coming from a background in IT, right? Like, my responsibility was provision workstations to new employees. And when employees move on, find new opportunities, or they just retire, we bring those company issued hardware back in house because we own them. So ownership, company managed, owned. Apple's MDM model is all predicated on that, right? Like, you register through ABM, you prove it's your company's purchase, and you have the power to manage it. Mobile's different. Mobile brings us the reality of we have to think about different management modes. In the Microsoft ecosystem, they talk about an Azure AD join versus an Azure AD register, and these are kind of for like BYOD scenarios. So we're evaluating, and this is how we think about mobile. We're going to have to think about the different use cases and the different technologies, where what you actually own and are responsible for on someone's personally owned device is their company data. And setting the rules about what are the limitations that I have to say, hey, this device can be registered and trusted and have that data. This is the trust anchor that we're looking at for JumpCloud Go, and specifically Protect. So Protect is going to be the foundation that we build Go authentication on, and look for us to get very crisp and clear on how you can set the rules for your organizations for what your trust anchors are. Kind of standard in the industry is it's not jailbroken, it has a pin, OS version, it's up to date. So these are the trust anchors. And again, I'm excited to bring some of my peers into this conversation to bring you guys up to speed on what we're working on. But yes, there's very cool things that you can do in terms of segmentation and I think the word is, what's the right word for this? Um, like when this stuff is actually segregated on the hard drive. But in terms of what we're coming at is we're coming to go on mobile and we're coming with pace. So that is unquestionably coming.
We got a couple.
Thank you, Jonathan. Partitioning, you saved me.
Yeah. So a few questions. Luke wants to know about device approval and condition access for mobile first.
Device approval, right? So that's kind of what I talked about. Like, what are your rules that a device can be registered? Certainly, you're not going to allow a 3GS phone running iOS 7 that's jailbroken and sideloaded to be approved. So the rules are going to be tied to the realities of the operating system, what they provide. And yeah, I'll be honest, Android offers a lot more interesting options and optionality when it comes to work accounts and that partitioning and data segregation. Apple's kind of getting there. So these rules of the road are defined by our OS vendors.
Yeah, that leads right into what Brandon was asking. How can we do device trust on mobile and have isolation on Apple? Android is good in this case, but Apple, I have found a lot of loopholes in testing. And he goes on to say in his next comment that he's done some work wipe testing on BYOD and it wiped the entire device instead of just the work stuff. I mean, that's panic inducing.
That's panic. Yeah. I mean, I have the privilege of having the opportunity to have, an executive team from a product side helping me with this. So I am just a steward to deliver the message on what we're working on. And inside of that team, we've got the wizard Joel Rennick, the mighty Tom Bridge, and we are knocking at the door of Apple with all of this feedback that you have and making sure that the decisions that they make, how it works, is being translated back from a vendor like us and a customer voice like yours. So we've known, right? Like software update commands with macOS. What was the pain with that for the last 3 to 4 years? Like painful. They're making changes there. So these are things that I would expect to be a big amount of feedback to come in now that we have federation with managed Apple IDs and the ability to really, not be solely dependent on, Apple IDs are still a pretty painful process, especially in the business. So this is the feedback that I expect will come up and hopefully I have optimism reach the top. Again, I had the privilege of going to the Mac Admins Penn State conference. It's a huge year for Apple, huge year. Between the Vision OS coming out and just the reality of Apple at work and remote work being real, I really see and had the opportunity to be part of what I think is like a true moment where Apple is like really taking the enterprise serious and Apple at work is real. So I'm excited about the opportunities for improvement and what we're seeing already get improved. And I only think that will progress with incremental releases and major releases coming in the months and years ahead.
Very cool. I hope so, because there's still a lot to do. We also need a way to protect network filter, but not intrude on the personal side of devices. And the other fun part is how do we partition browsers so that we can still protect employee data and not lump it all together? Those were both from Brandon.
Yeah, great questions. I don't have the answers to those, but these are the questions of our space, right? These are the questions of our time. Dealing with things that you don't own where you own a part of them, right? Like it's like having roommates, these are always challenging situations. And we don't just have roommates, but like there's rules. Someone's writing the rules to these things. And as a vendor who supports the MDM spec, we implement the rules. So the feedback goes all the way up to the top.
Yeah. Great stuff. Brandon also says also making SSO work, but in a secure way that doesn't expose data like a managed browser situation.
Yeah, I mean, I've kind of been using this point that SSO is kind of a commodity, right? Like you can get there with single sign-on, like that's cool. This is making, SSO not just single sign-on, but like it's passwordless. It's passwordless access, right? It's the highest of security from the perspective of what you get in a platform, an open platform that allows you to bring all your apps, right? The power of choice, the ability to say, yeah, we can use that app. Absolutely. It supports SSO. Perfect. You're going to have passwordless access to it. That's secure. So I'm really excited to go out this kind of being this like realization moment where SSO is a protocol, passwordless, hardware-backed access to resources is a game changer. It's certainly changed my life in terms of like when I'm working with my peers on things. The authentication fatigue I used to feel was real. Like if I was presenting to an engineering team and they had a question about data, and I knew that to click and get to that data, I was going to have to authenticate live in front of them all. I might have not made that click, but now it's like I'm on a call and it's like, oh, you want to see that? Boom, I'm there. Authentication fatigue is real. So whether you kind of have to feel it to experience it and I'd be curious to understand, like Becky, like, do you guys has your day changed since we've rolled out JumpCloud, a month or
Oh,
so ago?
1,000%. I used to get so annoyed at how many times I would have to log into things like Salesforce and other things, and other applications that we use. 100%. It's not so
My
bad
session,
in the community because I have it set differently, so I don't have to do it quite as frequently. But other applications where we're a lot more like, yeah, you have to log in pretty frequently. It's like, oh my God, I don't even want to go to that app because every single time I have to log in. So yes, it makes a huge difference. I can just go boop and
I just did that
be there.
during this IT hour because my email session ran out. And so, did anybody notice? Exactly. There you
Yep.
go.
Yeah, I mean, that is absolutely the blocker. So let me address some of the things that we've learned. So a couple things we learned: people work in clamshell mode. And I'm not going to say that passwords is a buzzword, but the reality is what passwordless is the password is never in transit. So that authentication prompt that starts your day, that is you authenticating to your local authenticator, and it defers to the device to do that authentication. If Touch ID or Windows Hello is set up, boom, passwordless. But if the device is in clamshell mode or it's not set up, then you're going to authenticate with your local password on your device, and that password is never in transit. So it is secured by the device. The key to, get you to your resources is secured on the device and never is in transit. So what we learned during this EA process is people are like, hey, I have Touch ID set up, but I'm not getting the prompt. Like, oh, is your device in clamshell mode? Yeah, it is. So there's kind of some funny hacks. First of all, every macOS device is a little different. The number of monitors it can support. So this may not work if you have a device that only supports one monitor. If you open your lid and mirror and set your brightness all the way down to the lowest, your screen on your laptop goes off. And you have a device that's open with a blank screen and you have access to your authenticator. The other thing that we found out is, of course, you can buy those Apple keyboards, but they're not ergonomic, right? They're not. I have a keyboard that I like, and I would not go to that super flat one. And I also had a coworker who just bought it and pinged me and said it only works on Apple Silicon architecture. So that was a expensive $200 decision to learn, and I have a feeling he'll be returning that. But there are, of course, for those of us that are on M1 devices that want to be in clamshell mode, there are authenticators. If I put my glasses on and I look towards the future, continuity camera just came out. It's pretty clear that with Sonoma, like they're trying to use the best hardware they're building for the best job. So you can use like the nicest camera in the world as your FaceTime camera from your Mac, and they have like those mounts to that. I want to believe that Apple will allow us to use our touch authenticators on our phones as possible ways to do passwordless access to our devices.
Ooh, Face
When you get
ID.
Yeah, I mean, you
Mhm.
already can do the prompt with your watch, right? Like I can do the prompt to approve authenticator if I have Apple Watch login set up. The gray area in the business world is what are the rules about signing into your work account on your personal Apple ID? And this is, again, when we look up to help to Apple make us these decisions. How is Apple going to prove trust on you are who you are in your work world and in your personal world? And is there going to be a duality of having a personal Apple ID and a managed Apple ID that works on your work computer? These are all challenges and opportunities that I believe Apple will have answers to.
Yeah, because how do you sign in to two different managed Apple IDs on your device when currently you can only sign in to one, like on my phone?
But they let us do two on our devices. It's kind of the weirdness where you can have your work account and your personal Apple ID here.
Mhm.
I do not think that exists on the Mac yet. And I promise you, my buddy Tom and Joel will help me get that answer. But
Yeah.
again, my belief is one day that from Face ID, the same way that Microsoft offers Windows Hello, I have to think that you could have your iPhone set up in a a charging stand next to you, and maybe there's a world where you get challenged to log in and you just look at your iPhone, and now you're in. Like, that's a vision for the world that I totally see possible with the technology, the hardware that's out there.
Mhm. I mean, you totally answered Brandon's question about the keyboard and the fingerprint sensor because he was saying the same thing about the Ergo keyboard. So you
Yeah,
hit right on that.
it's so flat. It's like very
Mhm.
hard.
Um, Luke's saying personal concern with JCGo is the effort to train onboard users with device fragmentation. And a lot of the comments are Apple oriented and we're 98% Windows, so not sure if we're a non-standard org.
Yeah, so kind of the realities are, I think if I could ask you a couple more questions on that. Talk to me more. Is it about getting people to set up those other authentication methods on their device? JumpCloud just sets a password. All of the biometrics on Windows to use Hello, to use Touch, one, require the hardware. In my kind of research going back, is like pretty much every hardware that's been shipped since 2017 has a not just a TPM, but some sort of platform authenticator.
Oh, I
Um,
skipped part of his question. Laptops docked as clamshell. Very few external webcams support Windows Hello.
yes. Um, But this is where, again, I want to double click on the fact that passwordless, again, it's kind of a marketing buzzword. The security of it is that the password is never in transit. So you can use JumpCloud Go, and you can use JumpCloud Go where users are prompted. And at that authentication step, they're prompted from their device to authenticate locally on their device to unlock that credential and use it in the TPM. And that's happening on their keyboard. It's happening with a PIN. It's happening with a password. If those devices are in clamshell mode or you don't want to have a webcam, they're still only going to be challenged that one time. And that password challenge is never going to be in transit and susceptible to any of the kind of known vulnerabilities of typing a password in a web browser. So I want to decouple passwordless from JumpCloud Go. It's phishing resistant and it's passwordless login when paired with a platform authenticator.
Cool. He said that helped with clarity. So
Awesome.
good. Yeah, because they really weren't looking forward to redeploying web cameras around the world for Hello support.
Yes. And it's passwordless because the password is never in transit. I have to kind of like grapple with the realities of like, what's the right way to frame this? And passwordless never in transit is really the phrase I'm keep coming back to. And one of the features that people want is they want to enforce biometric. So there could absolutely be a feature that comes out where you choose like, hey, the verification step has to happen with the biometric. This comes back to authenticator assurance. Like, what are your authenticator assurance levels and risk tolerance for your organization? It's a pretty cool term. Authenticator assurance is just how the MFA method, right? It goes back to the CASM, the consumer authentication strength. SMS based was never designed to be MFA. I can call Verizon, social engineer, and maybe get someone's phone number, and now I have. Like, it was never designed to be a true assurance you are who you are.
Yeah. I think the hard part is for people is decoupling the I'm typing in something and that is my password and therefore that's not passwordless. So I think it's just a little bit of education of it not being in transit is the key thing there.
Yep.
So
And
go ahead.
one of the things that you'll see is people are starting to change their terminology. You're going to start seeing the word passcode, PIN. A PIN is not a password. A PIN, just like for your bank account, right? A PIN is unique to just logging into the terminal at the ATM. A PIN is specific to a singular resource, therefore it is not a password. Passcode is another one of these fluffy terms that you hear. Well, oh, it's a passcode, so it's not a password. But basically, having a single thing that you type in on a keyboard that is only used to unlock a single thing, yeah, it's not a password. A password is where I can log in to multiple things, right? I can access multiple things with it. A PIN is specific to a specific resource. So kind of like buzzwords that you start to hear with passcodes and PINs, but they're not wrong. It's not a password.
Ian is asking, what are the benefits of JumpCloud Go versus using conditional access to allow MFA-free login to apps on JumpCloud managed devices?
Give me a second to think about that. First of all, it's the risk. It's the risk of just that security model. There's still authentication that's gonna happen at some point to start those sessions. So getting that session, which then grants access to those resources that allow MFA. It's all about that session, right? Like getting those sessions with those vendors, and if there's opportunities for bad actors to hop in there. So phishing resistant authentication is really the story of JumpCloud Go. And as you work up, like it's getting to the top, the latest and greatest, um, the strongest security posture for your organization. So I think that's my straightforward answer there. And then the employee experience would be the second one. Um, I feel more safe and secure now that I know that I'm being protected by JumpCloud Go. And yeah, I am one of the product managers helping to build the project, so maybe that shifts my perspective. But it's one of those things that there is that experience that users are going to see when they get there, and I think that that's going to give strength to you as IT leaders in your organization, where you know that your users are seeing that. That's a direct decision that you've made, and their security is going to be increased, and they're going to know it. So to me, it kind of is an opportunity to increase your CSCAT and just your awareness of how you are protecting them with JumpCloud.
Awesome. Wow. We almost filled up the whole hour, Scott. That's amazing. We've got well, I don't think we'll get through all of the news. So I'm just going to read some quick highlights because we've only got 4 minutes and I want to try to land us on time. If you are not monitoring CVE alerts, I want to just call out that there are actually 8 alerts for D-Link, Stack Overflow, 9.8 critical vulnerabilities, and 1 for TP-Link. So make sure you check those out if you haven't. There's a stop ransomware alert on the CISA site, a cybersecurity advisory to disseminate known ransomware indicators of compromise. So we will post all of these on the IT Hour recap. There's a next major Windows update available September 26th with new AI and not AI features. More lawsuits toward OpenAI for copyright infringement from several authors, including John Grisham, Jonathan Franzen, George R.R. Martin. And I pulled this headline specifically because it mentioned George R.R. Martin and said Westeros won't bend the knee, and it just cracked me up. Linux is going to give up on 6-year LTS kernels, saying they're too much work. Cisco just acquired Splunk for $28 billion a couple days ago. Actually, I know a couple people who work at Splunk, so I was like, holy moly. That's, I think it was $157 per share, if you can believe it. So, wow. And hackers claim it only took a 10-minute phone call to shut down MGM Resorts. So it looks like it was a little bit of social engineering going on there. We talked about that last week. And so a little bit more detail on that on the articles. We will share all of those. We were going to read out the news and do a little more around that, but maybe next time. It was actually much more fun to answer all of the questions that y'all had around JumpCloud Go and dig in a little more there. There's actually a lot more to come around that and some other things that we're getting ready to do around the new login window on Macs and things that are coming up soon. So you have not seen the last of Scott. We can't get rid of him. I mean, no, we don't want to. We really don't want to. We like having you.
I can't wait to come back.
On the IT social hour. On the IT social hour, Scott will not be allowed to show up and answer product questions.
No,
you can
no,
show
no,
up
no,
with
no.
no product questions.
No. We might have some we're still revamping those. There'll be a little bit more casual conversations, but if anyone wants to talk about stuff like that, they can. We generally try to keep those conversations more about what you're working on and what you're doing and talk more about day-to-day IT admin life and less about JumpCloud stuff. If you want to, you can, but that's what the IT hour is more for. So, we'll talk about other stuff there and maybe try to get some guest speakers and do some fun things. Oh, do we know if JumpCloud is ready for day 1 macOS Sonoma? Brandon wants to know. Scott, we'd probably have to ask Tom that question. Do you happen to know?
Yes. Asked Tom the question. As far as I know, we are preparing a press release for zero day support. But let's double click on that. Um, but yeah, ton of Sonoma testing going on right now, and I'm specifically excited to see our new login window on it.
Yeah, can we talk about the Wi-Fi? Has that
Sure. Yeah, let's tease it. So, I mean, the coolest part of the new login window is going to be the ability to manage your Wi-Fi from the login window. Windows offers this by default. Um, Mac doesn't. You can connect to existing Wi-Fi networks and see that connectivity status in the kind of the task bar there. Our new login window has full control to join a new Wi-Fi network, join a hotspot if you need to, if you're in a bind, and unlocking the ability to connect to the Wi-Fi from the login window, and being able to also click a refresh button to update any of the user accounts on the device. I estimate this is likely going to solve somewhere between 2 and 5% of IT tickets for all of JumpCloud customers just with that capability.
I've seen
Um,
so many of those questions in just the
n-
lounge alone.
the answer, Brandon, is no. Our new login window can do this. This is not a capability in Sonoma. This is a capability of our new login window. And our new login window looks and feels a lot like the Mac login window. So it's not a huge change management for the users. So it's really, really exciting. It uses the same default backgrounds, the same flashy colors. It just has different buttons and opportunities. And the most exciting one is the ability to manage Wi-Fi. There's also some other cool tidbits about being able to see serial IP number from the login window. And I gave a pretty cool demo at Cloud Hours this past week for our internal organizations where I actually can do it in real time. I'll be back to do that with you guys when it comes out early October. So yeah, early October. So within the next 3 weeks, pending any surprises for Sonoma is really the main risk I'm looking to eliminate before we get ready to light this puppy up.
Just a
Cool.
flex, I've seen that demo.
It's pretty good.
Yeah. Awesome. All right. With that, we're a couple minutes over, but totally worth it. So let's see. Next week, I believe Sergey is going to join us again, and we're going to talk about Android EMM zero touch enrollment. Boom. Excited about that too. That's going to be great. I know we've had a lot of people asking about zero touch or stuff like that. So yeah, it's going to be great. Oh, look at that. Scott, James says come back anytime. You betcha. He's a regular. We'll have him back very soon. Thank you all for joining us. Happy Friday. One more Friday left in September, if you can believe it. Flying by. Thank you all for joining us. We will see you again next week. Have a great weekend, and thanks for joining us. Take care, all.